And we got some major news like right before the start of the weekend. Christian McCaffrey. This was like some major news heading to Germany to go see a specialist for his injury. And one of the things about this whole situation was like, oh, Christian McCaffrey could have been ready for week 1. And now we're hearing like this could be something even more than we thought. That's big. And when it comes not just to fantasy football, but just football in general. And for those who had, Jordan Mason, you're probably holding on to him a lot longer than you thought you would. For those who have CMC, you drafted him at the number 1 spot, maybe top 5, depending on whatever league you're in. I know there's other leagues out there that players went first. But you probably got a good value on, or thought you got a good value getting CMC at the top of your draft. And now you're going to be without him for an extended period of time. This Germany thing, Tyler, does it bring added concern? Or are you like, okay, let's get a specialist in here and get him back on the field as soon as possible? Because for me, I'm like, oh shit, this is all bad.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I mean, if he's going to Germany for some type of specialist treatment, I mean, we don't know all the details. It's just a major red flag. And he's a guy that last week I know there's people asking me, should I trade for him? And I was like, yeah, I think that'll be back soon. Now, no, I'm definitely not trading for him. I wouldn't be the opposite. I'm just trying to get out because it's just, I know you're selling low, but like this is one of those things that just, it's so unfortunate for you if you took him first overall and
Man.
he's been out, man. Like this is so much worse than what like was expected here. So this is just a situation that if you drafted him and you're doing poorly in fantasy football, I mean, it is what it is. But it's a situation that I'm major red flags surrounding it, and somebody that I don't want on my team going forward. I have no
I didn't really
confidence in
even
the
draft a
situation.
lot of Christian McCaffrey this year. I think I have one team in an auction draft where I got him.
I
I
mean,
feel
me
like
and
I
you were
stuck with
pretty.
him.
We
Huh?
were not in on it. I don't want to say
No.
we weren't in on CMC, but like if Bijan was there, you were definitely taking Bijan. I was
Yes.
definitely taking Brees, and they were
Every
always
time.
there.
This was part of the concern, though. It was like, it's a back we knew in the past had been injury prone. He was already banged up coming into the year, older back. And so you start to hear like red flags. Kyle Shanahan had talked about protecting him from himself. And I'm not sure like when this injury actually occurred, because who knows what we could trust out of Niners camp. This could have been something that they maybe knew about heading into the year. But I look at McCaffrey and I'm like, if I had him right now, I don't know that I would sell for the low. Like I wouldn't just panic sell him off, but if I could get a good piece, a startable piece that top 15 type running back, top 12-ish type running back, I know it might be a stretch, but if I could just sell the name value of Christian McCaffrey at this point, I think the best we see him is after the Niners bye after week 9. I think the best we see him is at week 10. Chances are it would be some kind of workload, a split, something to get him up to speed. But like, are you really counting on Christian McCaffrey at this point to be himself, knowing that you go to Germany when things are dire? That's the only reason you would leave the country to go see a specialist, is if you think this thing is worse than you even know. And I got a lot of concerns about it, man.
Would you trade him for Brian Robinson?
That's a little low for me.
So like Aaron Jones.
That's what I'm thinking about it. Aaron
Would you go?
Jones, maybe I go get a struggling like ETN,
But
like
even
right around.
if you had Aaron Jones, would you take CMC?
No, stay
No,
away.
I
It's a
wouldn't.
stay away.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, it's rough.
I think CMC is a stay away player unless you're in a more the way I would trade for
If you're like 3 and
CMC
0.
is if not even if you're 3-0, because I don't think you need to take that risk. I think it's more so the league size. Like if you're in an 8-man league or a 10-man league where there's just ample amount of
Yeah.
depth available for you on free agency, like that is the kind of player that can help. But in your thin leagues, in your 12-team leagues, your 14 leagues, where you have 3 receivers and a flex, like, and you have a thin bench or 5-6 men on your bench, like I just don't think that there's room for a CMC, especially if you can't hold him in the IR spot. And with all these other players out in IR, it just doesn't make sense to me.
It all
What's
just
the lowest you would
depends
go
on.
for CMC right now? What's the lowest? Like if you had CMC, what's the lowest you would take for him?
I don't even like. I haven't put much thought into it, and it's just it's a situation that I don't know what team would truly want him. Like that's the problem. Is like it just all comes down to cost, and I guess like if I can get out and I get like I don't know James Conner or somebody like that, sure. Like I'd rather just take one of these guys, but it's a situation like I don't even know if if a man, the problem is just the running back position is always scarce every single
Yeah.
year. There's not many players that you can honestly trade for, and players that would be, and managers that would be willing to give up their running backs for a guy who's just not playing right now.
Would
So
you rather have Carson Steele or CMC?
I probably just roll the dice on CMC at
Yeah.
this point.
That's
Like
a little too low,
I
right?
would, yeah, like, but it's a situation like the problem. See, in this, how I always look at trading, like the CMC manager is probably desperate. Like, there's no, I don't want to say there's no way, but there's a high probability that that manager is maybe 0-3 right now, 1-2 in one of the lowest teams in terms of points scored.
Yeah.
So they're probably desperate. So I would, if I'm a team that's sitting nice, I'm looking at my squad. It's pretty good now. Fantasy football can change, definitely. But if I'm sitting nice, I would send out some offers and just try to take that risk. It's not a risk that you need to take, but if you're able to just get a guy that's, maybe your RB2, RB3 on your squad, why not? It also depends on who you have, but that's the only way I'm looking at it. If I'm a team that's, 0-3 or 1-2, I need to win. So I'm not really looking to make that trade. I'm just looking to make it if I'm in a decent spot.
I think for the most part, it's a stay away, right? Like if you're going to
Yeah.
trade him, only trade him if you're going to get somebody who can be helpful for your team. And if you're going to trade for him, only get him at a low cost. So you're going to have to find the divide there, whatever side
Yeah.
you're on, you're going to have to find the one that benefits you. But as a fantasy manager, this is a tough time to have a player who you took with your first round pick and haven't got a single point of production from. It's ugly.